So this video is going to explain how you use hooks to start your story. So the directions are for you to choose one or more of the robots from the page that you received and write a story about them. And your story has to begin with a hook. A hook is something that draws your reader in. It's more interesting than Once Upon a Time or There Once Was. So, we're going to go over a few samples of hooks for you to begin your story with. You just have to choose a hook. So, for instance, think about the story of the three little bears, Goldilocks and the three bears. Goldilocks went into the three bears' house and she went into the kitchen and broke their chairs, and she went into or she ate the food in the kitchen, she broke the chairs in the living room, she slept in all the beds. So think about that story. So, for instance, if you were going to retell that story and you were going to begin it with a hook that is stating a belief, then your hook might be stealing is wrong. And then you go on to tell the story of the three little pigs. But you have set the stage there with stealing is wrong. People will be interested in your story because they're wondering what it has to do with stealing. And I suppose that Goldilocks, her stealing was the stealing of the food. The breaking of the chairs, of course, is not exactly stealing, but it's still property damage. Or you could begin, this is another type of hook, by using a single word. So when I think about the story, Goldilocks and the three bears, the single word I might want to say to start with is burglar, because Goldilocks was kind of a burglar. She broke into their house, um, slept in all the beds, etc. So that might be what I would begin that story off with if I were going to use a single word as my hook. Or I could start it off with an interesting fact. So the interesting fact might be something like um, bears hibernate in the winter. And then maybe I could set up the story of Goldilocks and the three little bears as a story that was set in the winter. So, another type of hook could be asking an interesting question, like, did you know that bears love to eat porridge? I'm really kind of stretching here with some of these, but you're trying to come up with a way to draw your reader in with something more interesting than just once upon a time. Capturing a moment in time. So it could be something like the three furry creatures were walking quietly through the forest, and little did they know that their house was going to be invaded by a little girl. So I'm capturing the moment when they have left the house so their porridge could cool. And then you could also, one of your hooks could be describing a sound. Now, as you know, at the end of the Three Little Bears, at the end of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, they find Goldilocks asleep in Baby Bear's bed. So perhaps your sound could be snore, because that's where they hear her at the end of the story. So when you write your story about the robot characters, choose a hook to draw the reader in. The reader will be me. So I'm looking forward to reading your story.